Levi Tate, 13 years old, stood by the Black River clutching his notebook as if it were his very life. Beneath the heavy sky of a riverside town, he was a small whirlwind ready to topple giants with truth as sharp as a blade. When his brother was dragged away in chains into the darkness, Levi didn't cry. He swore to burn through the night with trembling handwritten lines. From an unknown boy, he became a roar, defying the entire town where power and lies had reigned too long. And today, in that stifling courtroom, Levi would make them all tremble before a voice no one expected. The Black River mirrored the blazing eyes of Levi Tate. Cold wind howled, carrying the scent of red mud and scorched wheat from distant fields. He stood there, 13 years old, small by the desolate riverbank, clutching an old notebook, the last relic of his father, now the fire he'd used to burn away the darkness. A stone slipped from his hand, plunging into the water, the sharp plop echoing, tearing through the stifling silence of late afternoon. The gray sky pressed down, thick clouds like an invisible hand strangling this riverside town, where the co-op's power had long turned every voice to ash. A scream shattered the air. May Tate stumbled from the dirt path barefoot, tripping over red gravel, hands clutching her chest as if holding her heart together. "Levi!" she yelled, her voice breaking, eyes red and blurred with tears. "They've just dragged Rylan away. Amos Reed says he stole the Reaper, chained him right in front of the house." Levi froze, breath halting. The sound of chains roared in his mind, cold, ruthless like a blade-piercing memory. He recalled Rylan, his tall brother, who'd once shielded him from bullies' fists in dark alleys, who'd laughed loud when Levi told silly stories. Now Rylan was swallowed by Amos Reed's shadow, hauled off like a beast before the whole town. May crumpled beside him, grabbing his shirt, nails tearing fabric, leaving red streaks on his skin. "He didn't do it, Levi. Last night he was home fixing that damned bike of yours. I heard him grumbling, the tools clinking. He didn't go to the shed." Her voice splintered, trembling, fear creeping through every wrinkle on her weathered face. Levi looked at her, eyes hardening. He remembered clearly. Rylan under the oil lamp, sweat rolling down his forehead, wrench tight in hand, while Levi sat beside, telling school tales to make him laugh. No shed, no theft, just two brothers and the river's murmur outside. "Amos Reed's lying," Levi whispered, voice small but sharp as a blade slicing the heavy air. May looked up, trembling hands clinging to him. "Don't, Levi. You don't understand. Amos Reed isn't someone to toy with. He'll burn our house, kill us all if you cross him," she screamed, tears spilling at last, streaming down a face parched, since the day Levi's father burned to ash in the fields, a death no one dared question, no one dared recall. But Levi yanked his arm free, barefoot stomping the red mud, walking off without looking back. The notebook quivered in his pocket. The whirlwind within him had awakened. Night fell, the town sinking into the river's murmur and thick smoke from the co-op's chimneys. Levi sat in the kitchen corner, dim oil lamp casting light on his face, a 13-year-old boy with eyes blazing like fire in the dark. The notebook lay open before him, scrawled lines like blade cuts he carved into the paper. Rylan was home. 8 o'clock. Amos Reed lies. Why? He recalled Amos's words at a co-op meeting. "Whoever opposes me opposes the town." The man's voice was icy, confident, as if truth meant nothing before his power. May stood at the kitchen door, her shadow stretching long across the worn wooden floor. "Sleep, Levi," she whispered, voice faint, almost pleading. "Don't be foolish and get tangled in this." But Levi looked up, eyes piercing through her, through the darkness enveloping their small home. "I won't sleep while Rylan's chained," he said, voice hard as steel. "They want to bury him in lies, but I'll dig up the truth. In that courtroom, I'll be the roar they never saw coming." May turned away, shoulders trembling, leaving Levi with the flickering lamp and the fire in his chest, an unknown boy, no longer invisible, no longer silent. Levi Tate raced down the red dirt road, barefoot pounding hard, notebook quivering in his pocket like a frantic heartbeat. Cold wind shrieked, carrying the river's murmur mocking, urging him on. He didn't stop, didn't look back, though May's cry trailed behind. "Levi, don't!" His eyes blazed, sharp as a blade, cutting through the thick night of this riverside town. The jail loomed a cold gray concrete block amid the charred wheat fields. Levi pressed his face to the bars, breath heaving. Ryland sat there, his brother, tall but gaunt, hands chained, eyes dimmed in the shadows. "I didn't do it, Levi," Ryland whispered, voice weak but firm. "Amos Reed wants to choke us out." Levi clenched his fists, nails digging into palms until blood seeped. The chains, frigid, merciless, rang real now, no longer imagined. He recalled Ryland fixing his bike last night, the rare laugh when Levi cracked a joke. Now, only chains and lies remained. "I'll get you out," Levi said, voice small, sharp as steel. Ryland looked up, eyes flickering briefly, then shook his head. "Don't, kid. They don't care about truth." Levi slammed his hand against the bars, the clang ringing cold and sharp. "I care. I'll make them listen." He turned, steps heavy in the red mud, fire blazing inside unquenchable. May blocked him at the doorstep, hands on her chest, eyes red. "They've locked him up," she said, voice hoarse. Amos stood at the co-op, called Ryland a threat no one dared argue. Levi looked up, eyes stone hard. "Because they're scared. I'm not." May grabbed his hand, nails pressing into skin. "Your father said that too. And then what? Burned black in the fields, no one asked." Levi stiffened. Father a charred shadow in memory, once believing truth was enough, now just ash and fear in his mother's eyes. He pulled free. "I'm not him." In the kitchen corner, Levi sat, notebook open before him, oil lamp casting light on his blazing eyes. He wrote, "Ryland's innocent. Amos lies. I'll prove it." Each word a blade slash, each line an oath. May stood at the door, shadow trembling. "You won't beat Amos," she whispered, voice choked. Levi looked up, eyes piercing through her. "I don't need to win. I need Ryland back. I'll burn this darkness down." Night deepened, the river's murmur a warning. Levi didn't sleep. He remembered Ryland's smile, the chains now real. Hand clutching the notebook, he whispered, "They want to bury him, but I'll be the whirlwind." The fire within flared, sharp, unstoppable, a roar awaiting its moment in that stifling courtroom. Levi Tate slipped through the village road, notebook gripped tight like a blade poised to slash the darkness. Cold wind roared through the charred wheat fields, carrying the Black River's murmur, mocking the 13-year-old daring to defy Amos Reed. Bare feet pounded red mud, each step heavy as if bearing the town's weight. Amos's house emerged, a gray wooden bulk amid the fields, light spilling from the window like a demon's eye watching. Levi stopped, breath quick, heart hammering not from fear, but from the fire blazing within, sharp and unyielding. He pressed against the wall, cold mud seeping through thin clothes, ear to the door's crack. Amos's voice rumbled inside, deep and cutting like a plow tearing earth. "You say Ryland stole the Reaper, or you're out of a job." A trembling voice replied, "But I didn't see him at the shed, and it rained hard that night. I stayed home." Amos cut in, voice icy. "You saw if I say you saw. I pay you to speak, not to think." Levi froze, hand tightening on the notebook, nails tearing the cover. The worker-forced witness was the key. He recalled Ryland last night, oil-stained hands, laughing under the lamp while fixing the bike. No shed, no theft, just Amos and his slick lies. The door flung open. Levi shrank back, shadow blending into night. Amos stepped out, towering cold smile slicing the dark cigarette glowing red in hand. "Who's there?" he growled, eyes scanning, sharp as a hunter's blade. Levi stepped forward, small but rigid as steel, notebook raised, scrawled words smeared with mud glowing under moonlight. "I heard it all," he said, voice small, sharp as a blade cutting the air. You forced him to lie. Ryland's innocent. Amos lunged, grabbing his collar, lifting him off the ground. Want to die like your father? His breath hit Levi's face, hot and reeking of smoke. Levi remembered his father's screams in the field, burning stench, but his eyes didn't waver. Let me go, Levi hissed, voice hard, eyes blazing like fire in the black night. Truth doesn't die. You can't scare me. Amos sneered, shoving him hard into the mud, cigarette falling, snuffed out in wet earth. You'll regret this, kid, he said, voice cold as the river. No one beats me in this town. He turned, shadow vanishing into the house, door slamming shut. Levi lay there, mud clinging to his shirt, notebook beside him, page smeared but words still bright. Ryland's innocent. He picked it up, stood, hands trembling not from fear but fury erupting. Ryland's chains echoed in his mind, cold, urging him on. Levi looked toward the distant courthouse, a gray stone block in the fields. I have proof, he whispered, voice sharp as a blade slashing night. They'll tremble. Bare feet moved, red mud falling in clumps, notebook quivering, not weakness but the strength of a whirlwind coiling ready to explode. Levi Tate pushed the courtroom door, old wood creaking like a stifled scream. Notebook smeared with mud clutched tight, the last weapon of a 13-year-old boy. The air was stifling, thick with sweat, rotting wood, and red dust from the charred wheat fields outside. Faint light from grimy windows fell on the crowd of workers, their weathered faces avoiding eyes, whispers hissing like wind over the black river. Wooden chairs groaned under the weight of onlookers not here for justice, but to watch another crushed beneath Amos Reed's heel. Levi stepped in, barefoot leaving muddy prints on the floor, small amid the throng, but his eyes blazed, sharp as a honed blade. Judge Elton Carver sat high, face dry as the river's gray stone, narrow eyes beneath silver hair, wooden gavel still but heavy as a preset verdict. Amos Reed stood at the plaintiff's table, tall in a black vest, cold smile slicing the space, eyes sweeping Levi like a predator's blade, keen, ruthless, certain. Ryland sat behind temporary bars in the corner, hands chained, shoulders gaunt under a torn worker's shirt, head bowed, eyes dim in the wall's shadow. But as Levi entered, Ryland looked up, eyes flickering briefly, a frail spark of hope in the darkness swallowing him. Levi stood in the aisle, notebook trembling in hand, not fear, but fire at its peak. The crowd hushed, breaths held, waiting what could a 13-year-old do against Amos Reed's power. Ryland's lawyer, a slovenly man in a sweat-soaked shirt, mumbled into papers, voice feeble as if doubting himself. Amos advanced, polished black shoes clacking on the floor, voice deep and cutting like a plow through earth. This kid stole the reaper from the co-op shed. I saw him that night near the door, no denying it. He eyed the judge, then turned to the crowd, cold smile widening. He's a menace to the town, a poor worker who'd believe him? Whispers rose, some nodding by habit, others bowing heads, avoiding sight. Levi gritted his teeth, nails tearing the notebook's cover. He remembered that night, rain tapping the tin roof, Ryland in the kitchen, hands oily, grumbling as he tightened a bolt on Levi's bike. The rare smile when Levi joked, oil lamp flickering on his tired, warm face. No shed, no theft. Just Amos. Lies forged from power and money. Judge Carver banged the gavel, the thud ringing dry, cutting Levi's thoughts. Does the accused have anything to say? His voice was cold, flat. Ryland looked up, voice weak but steady. I didn't do it. Amos smirked, turning to the crowd. He's lying. Poor workers always lie. Levi stepped forward, bare feet trembling on the cold floor, but eyes hard as steel. You're lying. His voice, small, sharp as a blade, sliced the stifling air, making Amos spin, face flushing red in an instant. The judge banged the gavel. Thud, echoing again. Sit down, kid, or I'll throw you out. Whispers swelled, some mocking, some doubting. May Tate sat in the back, hands on her chest, face pale, whispering, Levi, don't. You'll die. But Levi didn't hear. Didn't retreat. He raised the notebook, hands shaking, voice firm. I've got the right to speak. Ryland's my brother. Reed can't prove it. Amos roared, pointing at Levi. You dare slander me, you little punk? He lunged, but an old worker, face creased with lines, grabbed his arm, eyes flickering with doubt. Judge Carver frowned, gavel hovering, voice lowering. You've got 30 seconds. Speak. Levi opened the notebook, mud-smeared pages but words clear, voice rising, small but sharp as a blade cutting the room. That night it poured. The ground was wet. I checked the shed, no footprints, no tracks. Ryland was home fixing my bike. I heard him grumble, saw his hands oily. Reed says he saw him. Prove it. The crowd stilled, breaths held, some workers looking up, eyes wavering. Amos shouted, voice cracking, You're making it up. I saw him, I swear. But Levi pressed on, voice growing, a whirlwind rising in the courtroom. You forced a worker to lie. Last night outside your house I heard it all. You said, you saw if I say you saw. You paid them to lie. The courtroom erupted, whispers flared like fire and wind. Shouts echoed, chairs clattered. Amos charged, face red, hand raised to throttle Levi. You're dead, kid! But two more workers leapt in, holding him back, their eyes no longer fearful but furious. Levi stood still, notebook dropping to his hand, eyes blazing through the chaos. Truth doesn't die, he said, voice small but ringing, cutting through Amos's yells. Ask him. Ask the worker he forced. The judge pounded the gavel, thud, thud, thud like thunder, but it couldn't drown the crowd. A thin man, oil-stained shirt, Amos's worker, stood from the back, hands trembling, voice faltering. The kid's right. Reed forced me. I didn't see Ryland at the shed. That night I was home, rain heavy. I didn't go out. His voice was weak, but like wind fanning flames. The crowd exploded, workers surging toward Amos, yelling, Liar! Free Ryland! Amos tore free from the crowd, face pale, shouting, You believe a kid? I'm the co-op. I'm this town. But his voice drowned in the uproar, lost, feeble. Levi stood, small amid the chaos, notebook in hand, smeared with mud, but shining. Ryland's innocent. Judge Carver slammed the gavel, face red, voice breaking. Silence. Court's adjourned for investigation. But no one listened. The gavel lost in the workers' roars, shoving Amos to the corner, his eyes now fear, not certainty. Levi walked to Ryland, bars between them, but his brother looked up, eyes brighter than ever. Thanks, kid, Ryland whispered, voice choked, chains clinking as he reached. Levi didn't smile, just nodded, eyes hard as steel. You don't belong in darkness. May rushed from the back, hugging Levi tight, tears streaming down her weathered face. You scared me to death, but you did it. She gripped his shoulders, her eyes, for the first time in years, not fear, but pride laced with worry. Ryland's chains still echoed in Levi's mind, lighter, like they might fall. He turned, saw Amos trapped by the crowd, yelling in despair, I'll make you pay. But his voice was swallowed, drowned by demands for justice. Levi stood in the stifling courtroom, notebook slipping to the floor, Ryland's innocent, glowing amid red mud. He whispered, I made them listen. The space shook not from the judge's gavel, but from the roar of a 13-year-old boy, a whirlwind that felled a giant, burning the night with truth sharp as a blade, forcing the town to face it. Levi Tate sat by the Black River, bare feet dangling over icy water, mud-smeared notebook open on his lap. Ryland's innocent, glowing amid dry red dirt streaks. Cold wind howled through the charred wheat fields, carrying smoke from the co-op, a reminder this town never rested. The gray sky loomed heavy, thick clouds like an invisible hand poised to crush all he'd achieved. The river murmured, slow, a silent witness to what unfolded in the courtroom and what was yet to come. The wooden door creaked behind. Ryland stepping out, hands free of chains, but red marks scarred his wrists, traces of the darkness just shed. Tall, gaunt in a torn worker's shirt, his face weary but eyes brighter than ever, he sat beside Levi, silent, hand resting on his shoulder, heavy, warm, like when he'd shielded Levi from fists in dark alleys. "Thanks, kid," Rylan whispered, voice rough, choked by something deeper than words. Levi didn't look up, just nodded, eyes fixed on the black river, where the truth he'd unearthed floated, fragile as a leaf on water. May Tate appeared at the door, bony hands on her chest, weathered face etched with new wrinkles, marks of fear and pride intertwined. She approached, slow, legs trembling as if the ground might collapse. "They let him go for now," she said, voice weak but clear, eyes on Rylan, then Levi. "But Amos Reed won't stop. He stood at the co-op this morning, said he'd make us all pay." She knelt beside him, hand brushing the notebook, trembling fingers tracing his words. "You did what your father couldn't, Levi, but I'm scared you'll end up like him." Levi stiffened, memory flashing his father's screams in the field. Burning smoke, ash slipping through May's fingers like cold wind through his mind. Rylan gripped his shoulder tighter, voice low. "Kid, you don't need to do more. I'm back." But Levi shook his head, eyes sharp as a blade cutting through his words. "It's not over," he whispered, voice small but firm. "Amos is still there. The co-op's still there. They'll chain you again if I stop." Rylan fell silent, eyes darkening, as if realizing the truth Levi brought was just a fleeting light in this town's thick night. May sank down, hands covering her face, voice choked. "I don't want to lose anyone else. Your father believed in justice and what? Burned black, forgotten." Levi looked up at her, at Rylan, eyes blazing amid a face pale with exhaustion. "I remember," he said, voice sharp. "I remember Dad. I remember you chained. I won't let them forget." He stood, bare feet stomping mud, notebook quivering, not weakness, but the strength of a whirlwind unspent. Wind roared louder, carrying whispers from the field's workers' talk, Amos's distant growls, a town splitting. Some called Levi a hero, murmuring his name by the river. Others shunned him, fearing the cost of the truth he'd stirred. Rylan rose, towering beside him, voice low but steady. "If you won't stop, I'm with you." Levi turned, eyes softening briefly, then hardening. "No," he said. "Stay with Mom. I can do it alone." May screamed, voice shattering. "Levi, don't. You're all I have left." She lunged, hugging him tight, tears soaking his shirt, hot and heavy. Levi didn't push away but didn't hug back, eyes locked on the river where darkness waited to devour all.